Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are approaching the tail end of day 3 of the Responsive Nonprofit Summit. We are so grateful you are here and still pushing through. I have a good friend of mine here, Jon DeLange. He's going to share some of his myths and opportunities to help support fundraisers for our nonprofits. If you've been in one of my sessions before, one of the things I love doing is engaging and making sure folks are getting in part of our process. Instead of talking at our nonprofit leaders, I want to talk with you. So please, in the chat, please let us know where you're coming in from, what organization. And if you have any questions throughout the entire morning session, I'll pop in and ask Jon those questions. But feel free to be interactive, use the emojis, use the emoticons, and be active. Jon, my friend, how are you?
I'm doing well, Eric. I think the last time we were together in person was the Next After Neo Summit in Dallas, Fort Worth last year.
I think so. I think you're right. I mean, if you know me, I'm everywhere, right? Like the Roy Ken of fundraising. So I'm all over. So, Jon, introduce yourself to the team here.
Great, good deal. So everyone, I'm a gentleman that sits in a chair a lot like yours. My day-to-day is with Summit Ministries in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I live in Michigan. I work remotely for them. I did Major Gifts for a while. Then a few years ago, I took on our nationwide direct response program. So direct mail, digital fundraising, and then working with our marketing team to integrate the traffic and the visitors that interact with our biblical worldview training organization to help spark generosity as they interact with our organization. So one of the things that I do as well is write about a biblical worldview of fundraising online. I do that a lot more than I speak. So if you will excuse me as I just work my way through the information transfer. I know we're at the end of a 3-day event and there's been so much great information already shared. I'll do what I can to do tactics, but also what's the principle behind those tactics so we can apply them in different contexts.
That's fantastic. And as you're getting ready to share your screen, I'll just share to everybody here. He's right. There's a lot of sessions going on right now. All these sessions are being recorded. They'll be available later today. So don't leave us. You can get the other recordings later and come join us here. So Jon, after you, man, I'm super excited.
Thanks so much, Eric. I appreciate it. So everybody, I'm looking forward to this. We're going to have a good time. I'm available for questions as we go through the process. We're going to cover 7 small shifts that we followed in 2023. Now, these 7 shifts had 7-figure results, but more importantly, and this is something that we've been wrestling with, like a lot of you, that we just don't want to be imbalanced around single supporters. So we also grew the supporter base by about a quarter in the calendar year 2023. So I'm going to cover these 7 shifts. They're tied together by 4 themes. So those are our big takeaways. Shift number 5 was one that unlocked $1 million opportunity. But really the story of that supporter started with one of the tactics that I'm going to share in shift number 2. So I'm going to give you, like we said a minute ago, some specifics, very specific things that we did on the donation page, how we laid out some emails and video content, things like that. But also I'm going to do my best to give you the theory behind what we were following as we went through the process. So a little bit about Jon. Like I said a minute ago, I'm the direct mail and digital fundraising manager for Summit Ministries. I've been in the chair at a small nonprofit. I was the director of development for a group of pregnancy centers in Michigan before I took the role at Summit. And a fun fact, when I was a teenager, I became a Kentucky colonel. So if you think of Colonel Sanders from KFC, he's the same kind of colonel that I am. If you want the rest of the story, ask me a question in the Q&A at the end. It'll be a lot of fun. So I want you to think back with me. Think back to the 4th quarter of 2022. People had been chirping about the Giving USA reports, and like many of you, we were sitting down to do our annual planning for 2023. Things did not look good as we looked forward. We were seeing overall participation across the country. People's anxiety around fundraising in 2023 was really on the rise. And most importantly for our organization, maybe you have experienced this as well, we had one of our largest supporters, certainly the largest capacity supporter that supports us at Summit Ministries, let us know that they were not going to take a proposal to their family foundation in 2023. So that was a six-figure swing away from our goals that we already knew was happening as we were doing our annual planning at the end of 2022. So we were budgeting for a pullback, but we still didn't want to be beholden to this small group of major givers. And so we set ourselves modest growth goals around our number of supporters, and then set our budget a little bit lower than the year prior. And so I don't know if any of you have been in that position before, but it doesn't feel great as you look at the year-to-date numbers, and we're just going through this process. So we began thinking about what can we do to encourage people in their participation. Yeah, I see people in the chat mentioning, hey, that's a similar position. And here's the thing, I think it's going to continue to get tougher and tougher to do strong fundraising as we get closer to the presidential election. You know, people's mailboxes are going to be full, their inboxes and their texts are going to be overflowing as we approach November. So just as we're thinking through this, these are some of the things that we found this past year that helped move people and shift them towards relationship with the organization. So these are the four big things that we'll be pulling in to each of the 7 shifts. So number 1, we worked to fix form friction. I'll jump into that one in the first shift. Number 2, we're looking to expand email engagement. On the third shift, or the third theme that guided our shifts, we were picking personal participation amongst key supporters on top of our overall communication strategy. And number 4, this goes back to what Gabe was talking about and what Nathan Hill was talking about in some of the other sessions. We're testing small things in the different channels. So we stopped some of our locked in spending and adopted a more of an agile approach as we looked at some of our 5- and 6-figure expenditures going into the different quarters of 2023. So let's jump into it with the first shift. So first of all, actually I brought a prop here. So I don't know if any of you have been to the Next After Nonprofit Innovation and Optimization Summit, but I attended in 2021, and I encountered this resource called the Donation Page Friction Study. And that has kind of guided our mindset and our strategy over the last 3 years. And these were 3 specific changes that we made on our donation page that you can adopt in different seasons of your giving. So these are Q4 changes at Summit specifically. So first of all, we realized that we were confusing some of the people that were ending up at our donation page. And so we removed the header navigation on our giving page in Q4. That was aimed to fix the confusion friction that some people, they get to your donation page, they're reading about your organization, and then maybe they're so enthused that they want to read a blog, or they click away to a program or something like that. We knew that people, once they got to the donation page, the next best thing that we wanted them to do was complete the donation. So by removing the navigation, we saw a bump in our conversion rate. Also in the fourth quarter, we moved the giving form above any page copy on the website. So there was a header image which articulated our value proposition for the organization. We had a match going on in the fourth quarter. And then we just moved the giving form all the way up to the top because we didn't want to get in the way of the people that were already fans of the organization, but they just needed to complete the gift. So by asking them to read maybe 100 words or 50 words of copy before they completed their gift, we knew some of them would get distracted and leave. So we also aimed to reduce the number of options for people that love to analyze. So we went from 6 giving options to 3. So the buttons on the giving page, if you think of 50, 100, 250, that sort of thing, we literally just took half of them away and left the open field there as well. So these were the specific changes that we made. There were a few others. We have a custom form that articulates our value proposition once someone starts a gift. So we aligned the page content along with the form language to do that as well. I can answer a few questions about that in the Q&A time if you'd like. But these were some big results. So one of my coaches says every time you share numbers, Jon, make sure to tell people if they're good or bad. So average donation page conversion rates in the nonprofit world are in the 17% range. So a different way to phrase that is 83% of the people who click give on our pages, on our nonprofit pages, leave without making the gift. So we were a little bit healthier than that in direct visits in 2022, nearly a 20% conversion rate. But in 2023, we saw that jump to nearly half. People that were on the website, or they were clicking a button somewhere around our homepage, or different places on the summit.org environment. Once they got to the donation page, 46% of them were completing the gift in the month of December. So one of the other things that we track is just trying to keep track of the difference in conversions between major gifts over 10K and general gifts under 10K. And so I'll refer back to that metric a few times. I see a question in the chat asking about which giving levels we decided to keep and remove. That's a great question. We looked at our average gift online in the previous year, and then made sure that we kept that as one of the middle options. We knew that we're going to see a number of people coming in at lower amounts, but then also we have a relatively high average gift since we have a low number of active donors relative to other national organizations. And so we had a high button as well for people that were impulse giving in the $500 range. So if you're taking anything away from this first theme, remember, do everything you can to get rid of friction. The friction is what's going to kill your donations. They are the people that have already told you that they love your organization, they want to give to you, they get to the donation page, and then they leave because something interrupted them. There were too many things to consider, too many options, or something is broken on the page. So let's jump right into the second shift. This is around the theme of expanded email engagement. So again, I'm going to reference back to Next After. Shout out to their free resources. In 2021, we grabbed their playbook, year-end fundraising for online fundraisers. I actually have it right here. This is the actual one that made us six figures over the past several years. And we adopted a framework of 60% solicitation emails in Q4 and 40% cultivation emails in Q4. So I hear some of you guys saying, hey, my executive director or our board says you have to have a donate button on every single email. What if somebody wants to give? Well, we let our file breathe and kept them coming back and interacting with the emails kind of in a surprising way for some of them. You know, we'll tell stories, but we don't have anything that we're asking of them. We're just letting people interact in a more authentic way. We also adopted a low design strategy over the past several years. And that was a process of just helping it feel more personal in the process of email fundraising. So I'm going to jump in. This is another one. This is kind of fun because we failed in one of the experiments that we did in 2022. You remember a moment ago, we were seeing 45, nearly 50% conversion rates on some of the donation page instances that we had this past year. The year previously, we had a great gala video. It was awesome. It was our 60th anniversary. Our video team did such a great job. They're putting all this video together. It's like 7 minutes long. It tells a compelling story. It has our founder who's moved on, the new president, all this stuff. And we said, all right, let's put this in front of our email audience. Some of them will have seen it at the gala, some haven't. Let's do that, and we'll put them on the donation page. So we sent that out. We saw a great click-through rate, great open rate, and it just fell flat. There was 1.5% of the people that got to that donation page completed a donation. So the thing was, what we realized as we continued to look at the data and kind of opened up the hood and looked a little bit further was that was the best page visit stat that we had of any email in 2022. And so we realized that people were coming to the website, they just weren't completing the gift. And so I'll show you on the next page here one of the results of that. Also, by the way, if you want, shoot me a LinkedIn DM and I'll share our actual Q4 email calendar with subject lines, notes, sender names, the date that we sent them, and that sort of thing. And you can see how we went through this process.
Jon,
So,
I love the testing. I love the controlling and seeing what works and what doesn't. It's so good. It's so good. It's like it's right inside our responsive fundraising framework as well with the learn and grow. We got a question in the chat. Is
Absolutely.
how do you balance the collections of full donor data, email, phone, address, and abandoning the shopping cart?
Great questions. So as we went through the process of updating our donation page, we had a form that was less than 10% conversion rate back in 2020 and previous. So when I took on my role, we started looking at that data and we realized there were a number of things wrong with the form. We were asking people if they wanted to stop their monthly donation in the middle of the form. They were required to select from a long drop-down menu of many different things. We were requiring phone number, we were requiring address, all this stuff. And so we moved most of those things later in the process. So right now, if you were to check out on our website, this is one of the ways that we reduced friction in the conversion process. We require name, email address, and zip code.
Yeah.
And a credit card information. We have an optional address field after the completed credit card transaction and an optional phone number before the credit card transaction.
I love that.
So we had to have a couple hard conversations with our finance team because they said, hey, we need to be able to deliver IRS receipting and this and that. And so we looked at the specific parameters of what's truly required and tried to balance that with how do we best help people complete the donations.
Well, and I love that too, because it's frictionless giving. It's like, we're going to buy a pizza, we're going to order an Uber. Like, how many steps does it take to get to that point? And if it's more than like 10 minutes, I'm not going to complete the gift. So love that you're all about frictionless giving. I'm going to go off camera.
No worries. So let me finish the story real quick. I see some great questions in chat about some different specifics of what we're doing. If you want this, this is the snippet that I'm sharing of our Q4 email process. Send me a LinkedIn DM, Jon DeLange at LinkedIn there. So we saw our email revenue in November and December grow by 40% year over year by doing this thing. And on the right-hand side is a GIF of a iPhone video that I coached our VP to share. So you'll see in the content there, one of our cultivation emails was going through and doubling down on this quote failed strategy that we had from 2022, putting a video on a donation page. So we decided to go through the process and just get people comfortable with moving to the donation page from an email by converting them from these videos. So we did one exactly like we did the year before, and it was kind of a cinematic style impact story. We sent that out on, we sent that out early in December and shared a specific story. And then a little bit later, we had a student who came to one of our conferences. He had a dramatic spiritual transformation. And in his exit survey, he had negative feedback on our facilities. His quote was, "Your desks are way too small. I'm tall, I can't fit in these desks." And so I asked our VP, hey, will you just take an iPhone video, like have one of our interns or, just hold it up selfie style and take a video of yourself sitting in the desk and tell that story. And so it's kind of this idea of, a walk and talk video where it feels a lot more authentic. And so we saw a great deal of people clicking through to the process or clicking through to the donation page on the back end of that. And I believe that this was part of the way that we just habituated people to get used to coming onto the donation page. So my big takeaway from this that I've learned over the past 3 years is in our end of year fundraising, we're over asking to people. We're not letting them just appreciate the impact of the organization, and adopting that 60% solicitation, 40% cultivation email strategy through the fourth quarter is a way that we've seen year over year growth consistently over the last 3 years. Now, I will caveat that, look, in the last week of the year, the only thing I'm doing is asking, and I've tested long emails and short emails with bulleted lists of accomplishments, and the shorter lists with direct asks. Man, those are the ones that convert the best in the final week of the year. So in those times, you have to be asking when other people are asking, but you have an opportunity in the fourth quarter to help appreciate your supporter base. All right, this is a fun one. So shift number 3, this is again in email engagement. We're looking at, we did a third-party media placement. Our audience is faith-based. They're mostly conservative. They appreciate the kind of tongue-in-cheek satire that you see on the web, online now and then. So we sponsored a story in the organization, the Babylon Bee. We sent the link out as soon as it went live to our active email subscribers, and we saw an open rate of 63% and a click-through rate of 5.6%. So in nonprofit email benchmarking, you want to see open rates that are better than 30% and click rates that are better than 3%. And so this was literally our best click-through rate of the year. And it jumps right into the second part of this shift and the theme of personal participation. So this is really practical for you guys. If you have something that's performing well, just take a picture of it, screenshot it, or grab the link and text it out to your best supporters. You can cross-channel promote from email into text and from gala things into text. You can call people or mail them. You could print this out and mail it. It's outstanding. These screenshots on the right-hand side are literally responses from 6- and 7-figure supporters of the organization that I texted the link to, and they texted me back that they were laughing out loud. It was a lot of fun. And, while we didn't see a positive ROI on the media spend directly trackable, we know that we offset that cost of the sponsorship by about 25%. And we're able to put deposits in many of our supporters' mental bank as we led up to the end of the year. So this is my big thing. This is my soapbox. I'll go to my grave talking about this for nonprofits. Your personal relationships in your fundraising are your leading indicator of fundraising success. Don't sleep on that. Anything you can do through all of this is shifting these things towards real relationships that you have. I love the virtuous model about honoring people's supporter journey and referring back to the ways that they have engaged with you. But this is the key of the talk here. So shift number 4, and then we'll cover 5 through 7 real quick, maybe a minute a piece, and then we'll jump into some Q&A. As we went through the process, we were actually tracking behind year over year in some of our revenue models as we entered September. So again, like I said, we had this family foundation that was not going to take a proposal in 2022 or 2023. And we knew that we had to acquire some new supporters. And so our agency said, hey, let's go big. Let's go 6 figures in social media acquisition. We'll do display ads. We'll do Facebook ads and Instagram ads and maybe some, OTT, Netflix pre-rolls and YouTube and all this stuff. And as we looked at that, we said, man, we're behind in our revenue. And we're starting to see growth in number of supporters, but we're not sure if this is the right move at this time. So we asked them to restrict the budget to maybe 10% of the overall proposal and then test that in the month of October. So we just didn't see the results that we were hoping to. There were questions about, okay, do people understand our organization well enough at the ad level? Once they hit the donation page, it didn't seem like any of them were converting. We weren't seeing a corresponding lift in general giving. that correlated with the time that the ads were running. So we weren't sure that they were making any results at all. And so we took the budget away entirely and asked a different agency to run us branded search ads. We were running a three times match in the fourth quarter. And so I hear a few of you thinking already, Jon, hey, if you're running branded search ads where you're putting an ad placement on someone who's searching for the name of the organization, wouldn't they already be likely to give if they're searching your name or searching your area of expertise? So branded search ad is a Google ad where someone searches the name of your organization or the thing that you are serving and your name. So in our case, it would be a search ad that includes the phrase Summit Ministries. So again, that might seem like a misuse of funds because people are already searching for the organization. The reason that we did that, and I'll show you the results in just a minute, and they were significant, was we were able to articulate the match that we had earlier in the consideration process. So someone, rather than having to go to our donation page 2 clicks away or 1 click away and see that we were running a 3 times match, they were able to see that we were running a 3 times match in the Google results because we were able to put that in the ad copy. So that was exciting. We hoped to see a 3 to 4 times return on ad spend in these branded search runs. In the last 11 days of the year, we saw a 9.5 return on ad spend. So for every dollar that was spent in ads, there was $9.50 raised on the back end of this. So again, ads are great. Let me tell you, I'm an advocate for running this strategy. We learned a lot. We're going to do it again, and it has helped in the first quarter increase some of our online revenue. But your donors are going to do what your donors are going to do. This is a story from a year or two prior. We were running some Bing ads. So Bing, because it's not Google, another search functionality that's online out there. And somebody clicked on a Bing ad and they went to our website and they made $1,000 gift. And we're high-fiving back in the office. Like I call my boss, I'm like, the ads are working. And so we dispatched one of our major gift officers to call this supporter, sweet lady. And he gets on the phone with her. He's like, thank you so much. Like we at Summit Ministries are so excited that you are participating in the mission of doing biblical worldview training and all this stuff. And she stops him. She says, wait a minute. This is Summit Ministries? I thought I was giving to Summit College. So it was a downer at that point. We realized like, hey, even when we do our best to get things out there, there's people are going to do what they're going to do. I had a mentor say one time, donors are going to donor. And so it's a process. And sometimes those results are just a time of kind of surprise. And yeah, it was a long process. The thing that we learned in this time was just we need to be nimble in our spending, specifically within a channel. So, if you're doing ads, you want to see the different ad sets against one another. How are the Facebook ads and the Instagram ads and so on and so forth performing against one another? If you have the limited budget, that's where the testing on the front end of it can be the process. And I just want to empower all of you. If you have an agency that says, hey, we've got this whole strategy, you can, if they're a good partner, they're going to allow you to test those processes on the front end of those larger strategies. So, all right, we're at 30 minutes. I'm going to hit the last 3 shifts real quick. And these are specific to our organization. So I want you guys to think not just about the numbers, but what they could represent in your organization. So on the theme of personal participation, we had a family organization that had come to some events. They reactivated from lapsed 3 years ago by an email. And then over the course of the next several years, the grandfather, patriarch of the family kind of had come along with his wife to several of our events. This past year, his son's wife and daughter and her husband came to our supporter retreat, and they sit on the family foundation board. And that intergenerational involvement helped them unlock the next level of giving. They went from a six-figure gift to a seven-figure gift. And that was a significant driver of the growth that we saw in 2023. Another leading indicator that we focused on in 2023 was personal participation of our caseloads, our portfolios for our major gift officers. They had a goal of 100% voice-to-voice or in-person interactions with everyone nationwide on their portfolios by the 31st of December. And we got pretty darn close to actually meeting that. And then the last one, I actually brought a prop for that too. We deployed content live and multi-channel. So that email series that I will send you if you'd like has several Advent emails that are part of it. And so we were emailing out solicitations and cultivations and all this stuff. But our organization is a worldview training organization. So we wrote a devotional series that went with the Christmas season of Advent. And then we sent out these Christmas cards to some of our key relationships and encouraged them to visit our website, summit.org/Advent, to sign up for this special content series. We also, while our president was doing live in-person keynotes, he let people know that they could make a gift of any amount and receive one of the books that we print. And so those two things were ways that we leveraged our content throughout the course of the year. And that was a process of just encouraging people to the next step of generosity. So you might be questioning, hey, Jon, I heard that somebody went from a six-figure gift to a seven-figure gift. Is this all this growth that you were talking about? Is it that one family? Now, they were a big part of the end of year dollar figure growth, but the overall process of testing and looking at our conversion rate and bringing people in around email engagement brought our number of one-time online gifts that are under $10,000 growth by 40%, and number of the revenue that wasn't just all small gifts that didn't move the needle overall either. The revenue growth was 20% year over year for gifts under $10,000. So I'm excited to, just think with you guys out loud, like, hey, what are some ways that you can make small shifts towards relationships in your organization? What would it look like if instead of 2 out of 10 people on your donation page completing a gift, what if you're able to move that to 3? Or what if this person who, has been giving $5,000 or, $6,000 to the organization, what if you were able to involve their kids or their grandkids in the mission of your organization, and they were able to unlock a giving level that was 5, 10, or 25 times more than that? So if I'm going to leave you with anything, I want to leave you with the mindset of how can I make small shifts towards relationships with my supporters in the coming year. So I'd love to hear about how you guys are doing this. Feel free to shoot me a text or an email. My LinkedIn profile is there as well. I will be available in those DMs to send you our Q4 email calendar, and then we'll be able to continue the conversation there. So,
Jon,
I appreciate it.
I love it. I love the small shifts. I love the different things. I love the testing, controlling. I absolutely love the multi-channel piece. I mean, that piece matters the most, of taking someone from a live to text to mail to email and having all that content being created together. The other day I spoke about the maturity model, and one of my colleagues talks about this idea of this 1% change every day, changing, personally and professionally and everything else. And I think that's the small shift, right? Like, you're not going to be able to boil the ocean. You're not going to be able to solve all the problems and build all the revenue, but it's just doing 1% different every day. I think that's your small shift that I would lead into.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. As I was looking at 2024 and saying, all right, how can I do one thing? If I had to boil it down, what is the one thing that we were going to do? And this year we are launching donor advised fund giving on our website.
Yep.
And we'll see, like, we know that the average balance that people carry nationwide in donor advised funds is in the high thousands. And so being able to give out of that pool rather than the credit card limit or the debit card limit, that might be a way that we can shift people towards greater generosity. So
Well, in the
love
same
this
night,
question from Claire.
yeah, go for it.
Awesome. So our donor retreat is one that we've done 6 out of the last 7 years, and we bring people from around the country to a conference style retreat. So it's about 50% content, 50% like free time, spending time with our key supporters and several staff members. We present a logical case for support throughout the weekend, as well as an emotional case. So we're telling stories, and we're bringing people to a central location. We try to make it a beautiful location, sun, sand, or mountains, where the people that support our organization want to go to. So we've done, our headquarters happens to be in Colorado, so we've done them in Colorado before. We've also done them in Florida. Our next one's coming up in South Georgia and that sort of thing. And one key thing about these donor retreats is that we don't just have the president on stage. We find someone who's doing the work day to day at our organization to come and talk about their area of expertise. So like we do student training or we do curriculum development. We'll have a curriculum developer, an editor, or a middle manager come into the supporter retreat weekend and build real relationships with our key supporters so they can feel like they're on the team with the people that are actually doing the work.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Did you see the next question that came in from Jennifer? As you use these multi-channel ways to reach your collection of donations shopping cart, are all the same? Are they the same? Or are you using different platforms to gather that revenue? And if you're using different platforms, how do you avoid that silo of information? Man. Oof.
That's a great question. So we mostly point people to our specific donation pages. So we don't run peer-to-peer campaigns or take PayPal donations or things like that. For the most part, all of our revenue that we're bringing in from donations at the organization goes through our main donation form on the website. And I think somebody asked earlier about abandoned form data and that sort of thing. We have a keystroke tracker on the form. So prior to conversion, we can see if somebody typed in their email address or phone number, things like that. And so we have it's either me or an automated process where we'll reach out to people in key giving seasons if they started a gift but didn't complete it. And so reaches out and says, hey, you started that $100 gift. Would you like to finish it? Or would you like to get in touch with somebody on our giving team? Here's their phone number. And then we go from there.
And John, I have to just do it. I mean, the shameless, virtuous guy as representing who we are. I mean, Jennifer,
you're the chief evangelist, Eric.
Chief evangelist. I got to talk through a little bit of what our product does. Jennifer, I'd recommend going to one of our demo or technology workshops here at Responsive. Our system actually does all of that. It as you saw in Gabe's and Jason's presentation first thing this morning, all of those different silos that we're used to at nonprofits and fundraising, they all holistically talk to one another inside. We have that abandoned cart opportunity automation already, right? Because to me, John, I mean, the way I look at it is we want to look at the donor, we want to look at the customer, we want to look at the individual differently when they abandon a cart versus a regular automation of a new donor welcome series, right? Like how you have that conversation is like a non-creepy way, right? Like we know they were on the website and then we're like, oh, hey, Will, you forgot you didn't fill out your form. But like, how do you know that, right? You have to engage them in a different type of communication and effort and be personal on that. So,
yeah, I use the language so some of us are retargeting through ads, and this is all at scale, that sort of stuff. When we kicked this off, we just did it person to person, and so I would send a personal email a few years ago to individuals, and I said, hey, I saw you interacted with our giving page, and I'd love the opportunity to share with you my story, and if you want to interact, feel free. And we've reclaimed in the 5-figure range of donations at each year end the last 3 years doing that process.
That's incredible because I look at it from a different lens of us as nonprofit leaders. We treat ourselves like nonprofit businesses and like we're not for profit, right? But you're treating your organization like a for-profit business, and that nonprofit is just a tax status. It's not a way of doing work. And you're being for profit, like Amazon's doing that, Google's doing that, everyone else is doing that. And if you're being open and honest with your donors, your constituents about it, I think it levels you guys up at a higher level. And they appreciate that, I think.
Yeah, we do our best to just say, here's authentically what we're doing. And so one of the things that we've learned, again, I'm a huge Next After fan. I'll just shout them out, you know, and one of the things that they recommend is like have a face for different functions at your organization. So our new donor welcome process has a face. It's one of our junior employees who wants to grow into a major gift officer in future years in his career. And so shout out to Noah if he's watching, by the way. So Noah reaches out to all of our new donors over the course of a year, either 6 or 12 times, through automated emails and by text and voicemail drops and things like that, just to welcome people into the family and give them the opportunity to share their story.
I love that. I love that you put a person to it, a persona to it. I love that. And it's a real human. I love it. Awesome. Any other questions in there? I don't see much in there. I think yep. All right. So we're wrapping up here. Jon, this was awesome. This was so good.
Thank you,
So
Rick.
many great takeaways. As you referenced, there's a whole host of other different presentations and recordings. Nathan Hill from Next After did a donor retention conversation yesterday, which again, there's automation, there's things that we could be doing to be able to help grow generosity for our nonprofits with these small shifts that we would do. Go back and watch that recording. Gabe did a couple conversations about our new products and everything else that's going on. Thank you, Jon, for all your support to nonprofit leaders throughout the world, actually, for RNS 2024. Friends, we are wrapping up. We have our closing keynote here at the top of the hour. I'm going to ask you to go see our sponsors. They are the ones that make this thing free and available for every single one of us. You have CFRE credits in the resource tab. It's you can download the report there. It's 34 credits, which is incredible. Go get some water. Go recharge. We'll see you back in 18 minutes. Jon, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you.
I appreciate it, Eric. We'll see everyone.